first thing you want to do when you get your boat, when you set up your boat, is figure out what pin setting has your mast most vertical. So there's two ways to do that. I mean, the problem is that no matter where you put your pins, it's all going to be head stay tension will pull forward and back, right? So with pretty reasonable tension, you want your mast to be. By reasonable, I mean you have a 2-to-1 head stay tension like this, like what you can do with the dock pulling, by yourself here, so there's not sag in the lure, trying to get this mast vertical, or touch back. If you want to be exact about it, one thing you can do is use tape measure, attach it to your main halyard, pull it up to the top, and measure to the center of your transom. And that will give you a setting, and then you can decide, you can see what the difference is between each of your pin settings. And I think there's a link on the Dyer website, like what it should be for straight up and down. You can do the math. But usually just seeing that the mast is straight up and down is where you want to go. Pretty much that's the pin. I don't change my pins. My stays are a little too long. To get my mast straight up and down, I have to go pin to the bottom one. So I pretty much never change my pins unless it gets really light and sloppy, when I might want to go pins forward a little bit. So generally, mast straight up and down the pin. Now, the forestay, though, the lighter the wind is, the less forestay tension you'll want, which ends up breaking the mast back. But more upwind, what it ends up doing is letting the mast sag the lure. Because in this boat, with the way the stays are set up, when you're going upwind and the boat's flat or heel to lure, the boom's pushing on it, it's pulling on the forestay and this, so it's on a triangle, kind of going to leeward and back. And the reason you want less head stay tension in light air is mostly because the top of the mainsail will be a little fuller. You're able to trim without closing the leech of the head of the top leech. As you pull more forestay on, you're able to, when you pull your main in, you're actually pulling you're pulling down on the top leech, on that top batten, and you're getting more leech tension. So in the heavier the breeze is, the more you want your rig to stand straight up and down, and the more you want to be able to have that leech, because the wind's going to be trying to open it. So you really kind of want to keep that leech profile the same in all wind conditions. And the only really controls that you have for that, I find, are really the macro ones are really the head stay, and then main sheet. So the next thing I do to look at the basics are basically trim the sail to where you're going to be going upwind and set your bang basically at that setting without tension really or anything. And that's pretty much how you sail with the boom bang in these boats almost all the time. Now, when it gets windy and you are hiking and you're up on the rail, a little more bang tension, especially going upwind, will help, because then you can sheet out and not overpower to get your bow down. But if you have your bang looser than this, the problem is coming out of every tack, your boom's going to go up. The leech of your sail will do like a curl. You'll never be able to steer with the leech of the sail, which is what you do in the boat. What you can do, though, with the main sheet, so instead of using bang like you might do in a bigger boat, you can do that with your main sheet. So you're sitting here on the rail, you're trimming your main sheet to here, right? The difference between trimming to here and trimming to here is a pretty big difference. So when I'm going upwind, I'm sitting on the side of the boat here, and I'm sailing along. And if I'm trying to accelerate, try to go fast forward and kind of slow, I'm going to keep my hand down here a little bit, which is going to basically pull that leech a little bit tighter, right? And I'm going to be able to get my leech a little tighter, which will get me a little bit more height, be able to stay off the guy that lured me. And if I'm trying to reach, I just pick my hand up, get a little more curve in the sail. The top of the sail opens up. Top batten will open up. Keep the bottom closed. You'll be able to tear off, have lots of power in the top of the sail, lots of power in the bottom of the sail because it's a little over trimmed, and you'll be able to go low and fast. And that's just literally like, what boat am I in? It's like, where am I trimming? That's probably more like during a race. That's what you do. I don't really play with my head stay tension during a race.
How about downwind?
So downwind, when it gets breezy, one of the rules of thumb is when it gets breezy and your head stay pushing really hard, like take the slack out of your head stay. That's probably a good head stay setting, right? Like you don't even need to get fancy about it. It's like, well, in real light air, the wind's not strong enough to push your head stay too hard, so you keep your head stay loose. When it gets really windy and you're going downwind and this is really shaking, take the slack out of that. That's probably going to be a better setting upwind anyway. So that's a good rule of thumb. But downwind, trim-wise, most of the time, the boom is going to be out against your shroud. And there's really only two ways to sail a dyer, like broad reaching or by the lead. So, both work, but because you can't get the boom straight out, dead downwind is usually a little slow. So if you're dead running, you might want to come up a little bit. You don't trim because the boom's almost always all the way out. But you might want to sail a little bit high. And generally, when you're sailing on a broad reach, you want the boat flat and your weight forward. And then, or you can try to go on a by the lead, which is probably the fastest way in like flat air to sail these boats downwind. And that way, you actually it's more important to have windward heel, get the boom way out. You're getting reverse flow over the sail, and your board's all the way up, and you're tracking pretty straight. So those are the two things going downwind. So you'll see my settings will be a little bit different if I feel like the wind's in front. Like last week, we had a lot of times where the wind was kind of, you even had to trim a little bit. In those conditions, try to get the stern of the boat out of the water, try to get forward, keep the boat flat with the weight forward. And then when you are by the lead, weight to windward, big windward heel, boom out. Upwind, I think the biggest mistake I still see people doing is not getting the boat going for fast. Whether it's coming out of attack, off the starting line, like the key after every time you turn the boat is get the boat moving first. Don't worry about pointing. Don't worry, so coming out of attack, I'm pretty much always going 5 to 10 degrees lower than normal. I'm sheeting out a little bit, trying to get the boat up to speed for a boat length or two. When I feel like I'm moving the same speed as the boats around me, I'll try to find that height, try to get back into my lane. But it's so important to come out of your tacks with speed. And so one of the things that you should watch on these boats, this boat is a good example of a boat that's dangerous to sail because, look, I can push the tiller over the side of the boat here. And if you go back and look, I basically turned the rudder straight, right? So you have to be really careful not to oversteer. The rudder's huge relative to the size of these boats. So when you're going fast, a little bit of rudder into your tack, a good bit of rudder through the middle, that's fine. But I make sure that my rudder, my tiller, is at an angle so that I can never get outside the edge of my boat. And that's as far, like the edge of your boat's as far as you should ever turn.
Even when you're in irons?
It's almost especially when you're in irons. So one of the things is like when you're in irons, if you do this, you're literally just putting a brake on. You're not turning at all. You're just anchoring yourself. So yeah, one of the things we all get in irons. I mean, I probably do once a day. At some time out there, it's like you double tack or something. If you just grab the boom and pull it really hard towards you, the bow will fall away. And then don't put the tiller in the middle of the boat. Pull the sail way to one side. The bow will fall away. Ease your sail out. Go that way until you're moving, and then start sailing again. Try to do it, with the big. Pull that sail towards you with your grabbing boom and pull. let the boat fall away, and then go. Don't mess around with like trying to like steer out of it or being like, oh, I can get back down to close haul by pulling the tiller over, because if you're not moving forwards, the tiller doesn't turn the boat. It just puts a brake out the back. So use the sail and pull it towards you. The boat will fall away. That said, good thing when you're in irons, or if it gets really windy and you're having trouble going forward, especially tacking. Like, it gets really windy, I see a lot of people, it's fine, and then they try to tack, and it's like, I can't get the bow through, I can't get going. Pull your centerboard up. So if you pull your centerboard up a quarter of the way, the whole tack is easier. You'll carry a lot of speed. You'll be coming fast out of it. If you're getting into irons, pull your centerboard up a little bit. You'll just be going faster. You won't have that same lift in a straight line once you're up to speed, but that's not what your problem is. Most people lose like 90%. When I sail without a rudder, I have my centerboard up halfway or a little more, and I can sail upwind. Yeah, I'm sliding a little bit more, but I can sail upwind the same speed as everybody else. These boats don't. They all go sideways anyways. The centerboard's really efficient. So don't try to make things more difficult for yourself. The biggest, my recommendation to improve is when we go out, we'll go out here in 10 minutes, is to go to the starting line and try to do 10 to 15 tacks to the weather mark. So don't just go and sail to the weather mark. Try to say tack. As soon as you feel like my tack's complete, I'm back up to speed of this tack, tack again. As soon as you feel like I'm comfortable, I'm up to speed in this tack, tack again. And just keep doing that. The amount lost in tacks is most of the difference between the front and the back of the fleet in this fleet, by far. It's all at the corners. Like in a straight line, these boats go one speed. It doesn't matter who you are, how you set your boat up. They're slow. Yeah, we're all going slow. But every time we turn, you know, the guys at the front, you're seeing they're just coming out of their tacks, still going about that same slow speed. And the guys at the back will stop for a little while, get going again, sail with the boats they're with. Everybody will tack. Front tack will jump away again. You know, the back tack will get a little further back. So really.
Where's your weight? Most of the, is there such a thing as too far forward?
Upwind, yes. So my weight going upwind is on the center of the seat. So when the boat's flat and I feel like I'm going fast, I will lean my body forward. Okay? But it's always ready to be back over the seat. One, for boat handling, because if your feet are behind the seat, you can tack anytime you want. You'll never get tangled in the main sheet. Your boat handling is just going to be better. And two, getting the skeg and the rudder in the water, like through the turns and stuff, is important. So you don't want to be too far forward through the turns. Downwind, as we said, if you're going on a broad reach, as far forward as you dare. Theoretically, it's faster. I don't know that it's always faster because it's really awkward and to get there and get back. Sometimes you'll lose more than the extra speed's worth. But
and the pitch pull is very slow.
When it's windy, downwind obviously is keep your bow out of the water. So. But on a day like today, it's beautiful. It'll be nice. Almost always weight over the seat, and it's really just forward and back. But really thinking about keeping it over the seat.
When your feet are always behind.
Yeah. I mean, the only times when you're on a really long, if you're on a really long starboard lay line to the finish, You might like take that front bottom foot and put it over the seat because it's just now I'm sitting on both sides of the seat. It's comfortable. But if you're gonna tack again, yeah, behind the seat, and I just lean. You just lean. Like I lean on this part of the boat a lot going upwind with my shoulder.
Downhaul?
Yeah. So so for the front of the sail, the most important thing is halyard to the top, and then after the halyard goes to the top, if you have basically what you want to do at that point is take the downhaul and pull it so that the kind of the sailcloth is smooth on the front, but not, you don't want to put a vertical line or anything, and that's pretty much it. If you do need downhaul during the day, if you pull your vang on, it's going to pull the boom down in these boats. The only ones this boat actually has to fix. Here, you might maybe play the downhaul here, but even on this boat, by pulling the sail down here, it actually pulls the downhaul down plenty. So the outhaul, the rule of thumb is actually the grommet on the outhaul should be just behind the main sheet block here. That's pretty much neutral. So everybody looks, the main sheet grommet on almost all these boats is in the same place. I get it to that setting, and if I move it an inch during the day, but I'm not doing it during a race ever. I'm always afraid that if I clean it, I'll lose it. If you lose it in this boat, it's really bad. But the leach of the mainsail does matter upwind, and that's where you should be spending a lot of time paying attention to. And then going upwind, I'd pay much more attention to your top telltales than your bottom telltales. And in these boats, the bottom telltales, when you're going fast, going upwind, properly trimmed in these boats, and there's more than 8 knots of wind, your bottom telltales will tell you you're over trimmed or stalled all the time. Okay, so to fly the top telltales, you have to over trim the bottom of the sail. And it's just the reality of the way the sails are set up and the boats, so that you're looking at the top. If you're trying to fly your telltales, you look at your top telltales to fly them. And if you're looking at your bottom telltales and they're not stalled, you should look up and see what's wrong.
Thank you, Jeff.
Awesome.